Hello, and welcome to our special year-end bulletin. We're here to break down the biggest, most important developments in the world of oncology from the final days of 2025.
So here's what we've got on tap for you today. We're going to cover some amazing breakthroughs from the lab, the latest moves in the pharmaceutical industry, the human and policy side of the cancer fight, and finally a story about a stunning leap forward in surgical tech that you have to hear to believe. Okay, let's get right into it, starting with the pure science that's changing how we understand and fight cancer, from the tiniest single cell all the way up to the entire human body. First up, we need to talk about a really cool concept called the Abscopal effect. Now imagine this. You treat just one tumor, and then, like magic, you watch other tumors way on the other side of the body start to shrink and disappear. It's like the treatment teaches the body's own immune system how to hunt down cancer everywhere. This idea is absolutely central to our first big story. And that brings us to a brand new phase 1 trial for an antibody called 2141-V11. It's what's known as a CD40 agonist, which is basically designed to kick the immune system into high gear. Now, as you can see here, previous drugs like this, they were often way too toxic and didn't have much of an effect. But this redesigned antibody, totally different story. It was well tolerated and, this is the crucial part, it triggered that amazing abscopic effect, causing distant tumors to vanish in some patients. This is a huge, huge step forward for immunotherapy. Of course, the fight against cancer isn't just happening inside a lab. New research from the University of Miami has drawn a really troubling line connecting where you live to your actual cancer risk. The study found that when you combine living near a Superfund hazardous waste site, exposure to air pollution, and living in a deprived neighborhood, well, that correlates with a higher risk of a really aggressive form of breast cancer. And there's another threat that global health bodies are really starting to sound the alarm on, and it's a bit of a silent creeper: antimicrobial resistance, or AMR. This is what happens when bacteria evolve to the point where the drugs we use to kill them just don't work anymore. So, why is this such a massive threat for oncology specifically? Well, think about it. Common cancer treatments like chemo and bone marrow transplants absolutely hammer the immune system, making patients incredibly vulnerable to infections. We rely on antibiotics to keep them safe. But if those antibiotics stop working, the very foundation of how we treat cancer is suddenly at risk. All right, so we've seen the science. Now let's shift gears and talk about the path to the patients. This is all about the world of industry and regulation, where big decisions determine which new therapies actually make it into the clinic. You'd think a promising drug would be a sure thing, right? Well, not always. Genmab just announced it's halting a late-stage lung cancer drug, and not because the data was bad, but because of what the company called the evolving competitive landscape. It's a really stark reminder that drug development is also a business, and sometimes that means making tough strategic choices about where to put your money. But while some projects get shelved, other trends are really taking off. Like this massive shift to move care out of the hospital. Koru Medical just filed for FDA clearance for its infusion device. If approved, it would let patients get a key breast cancer drug administered right under their skin, potentially in their own living room. The whole goal is just to make treatment more efficient and a whole lot friendlier for the patient. And wrapping up the industry news, the FDA had a busy December. A couple of big things to note here. Breyanzi got the green light for marginal zone lymphoma. This is a big deal because it's the very first CAR T-cell therapy where they actually engineer a patient's own immune cells to fight cancer for this specific disease. The agency also fast-tracked a powerful new combo therapy for multiple myeloma, which really signals how promising they think it is. All right, behind all the data, behind all the business decisions, there are people. So let's shift our focus now and talk about the human side of all this, the policies and the partnerships that are shaping the bigger cancer landscape. This month, the oncology community sadly marked the passing of journalist Tatiana Schlossberg from AML. Her story is really shining a light on a couple of critical issues. First, there's this really concerning trend of seeing geriatric cancer mutations, the kind of genetic changes we usually see in older patients, showing up more and more in young adults. And second, her case really underscores the urgent need to protect funding for cutting-edge research like mRNA cancer vaccines. And to tackle big challenges like that, you need big collaborations. That's where the new Centers for Cures initiative comes in. It's a massive new partnership aiming to build a global network with 4 key goals you can see here: speed up new therapies, slash the cost of clinical trials, cut down on repetitive research, and improve diagnostics for diseases like cancer. And speaking of focusing on the patient, here's a partnership in Rhode Island that's all about quality of life.
They are integrating palliative care right from the very beginning of radiation treatment. The idea is to address the heavy physical and emotional weight of cancer therapy, not as some afterthought, but as a core part of the care plan from day one. Okay, for our final story tonight, we have something that sounds like it's straight out of science fiction. It's a single event that could totally redraw the map of what's possible in medicine, pretty much erasing the concept of geography. Let's start with just a number: 7,000 miles. I mean, what on earth could a distance that's further than flying from New York to Tokyo have to do with a surgical operation? Well, that was the staggering distance between Dr. Vipul Patel in Florida and his patient who was all the way over in Angola. In a landmark trial, Dr. Patel successfully performed a robotic prostatectomy using high-speed fiber optic networks. And get this, there was basically zero perceptible delay. He was controlling a robot on another continent in real time. It's just absolutely mind-blowing. So what does this really mean for the future? The implications here are just huge. This successful proof of concept blows the door wide open for providing elite, specialized surgical care to people in remote, rural, or underserved places, anywhere on the planet. A world-class surgeon's hands could, theoretically, reach anyone with a solid internet connection. And I think Dr. Patel said it best himself. As we close out 2025, it's the perfect thought to end on. Individual breakthroughs, whether they happen in a lab, a boardroom, or an operating room thousands of miles away, are all adding up to one giant leap for the future of health.